All right, let's talk about habits. We're always saying things like we need to build good habits or break bad ones. But what if I told you that's not just a clever turn of phrase? Today, we're diving deep. I mean, way down to the molecular level to see how habits are literally built synapse by synapse inside your brain. You know that feeling, right? That first sip of coffee in the morning, or that automatic impulse to check your phone. How does something that starts as a simple choice turn into an unconscious reflex? Well, the answer isn't just about willpower. No, it's written in the biology, the chemistry, and the absolutely incredible molecular machinery of your brain. So at its very core, making a habit is all about your brain getting super efficient. It's kind of lazy in a good way. It's the process of taking something you have to think about, a deliberate choice, and handing it over to the brain's automatic systems. It's literally shifting gears from thinking to just doing. Now, this shift from conscious thought to automatic action, it isn't just some vague idea, it's a physical rerouting of traffic inside your head. Think of it like building a new superhighway. This all happens along a specific neural circuit called the corticostriatal pathway, which connects your thinking cortex to the action part of your brain, the striatum. Okay, this slide shows that rerouting perfectly. When you first start something new, your brain uses the system on the left. It's run by the dorsomedial striatum, or DMS. This is your thinking system tied to your prefrontal cortex. You're consciously going, okay, if I do this action, I'll get that outcome. But repeat that action enough, and your brain shifts the traffic over to the system on the right. Control gets handed off to the dorsolateral striatum, the DLS, and that's your habit center. It's not about the outcome anymore. It becomes a direct automatic link. You see a stimulus and you have a response. No thought required. So how in the world does the brain physically reroute all this traffic? Well, it literally rebuilds the roads. We're going to zoom in even further now, moving from whole brain regions to the actual connections between individual neurons. And this process has a name: synaptic plasticity. Synaptic plasticity is, and I'm not exaggerating, the absolute foundation of all learning and memory. Here's a great way to think about it. Imagine you're walking through a dense forest. The first time it's tough, you're pushing branches out of the way. But if you walk that same path every single day, you start to wear it down. It gets wider, clearer, and way easier to travel. Your brain does the exact same thing with its neural pathways. And this whole remodeling job uses two main tools. On the left, you've got long-term potentiation, or LTP. Think of this as the construction crew. They're paving the new path, making it stronger. On the right, you have long-term depression, or LTD. This is your demolition crew. They're tearing down the old, overgrown paths you don't use anymore. So the key here is that building a new habit isn't just about adding something new, it's also about actively taking apart the old. Okay, so who's telling the construction and demolition crews what to do? Who's the foreman on this massive project? Well, it's time to meet the master molecule in charge of this whole operation. Brain-Derived Neurotrophic Factor, or as we'll call it, BDNF. You can honestly think of BDNF as Miracle-Gro for your neurons. It's that powerful. When it's released, it doesn't just passively encourage connections. No, it actively directs the molecular machinery that physically strengthens and stabilizes them, turning a fleeting thought into a rock-solid habit. So how does this Miracle-Gro actually work? Let's walk through this chain reaction. Step 1. Our foreman, BDNF, grabs onto a specific receptor on the outside of a neuron. Think of it like a key fitting perfectly into a lock. Step 2. That kicks off a cascade of signals inside the cell like a line of dominoes falling. Step 3. These signals travel all the way to the cell's command center, the nucleus, and they flip a switch on certain genes. And finally, step 4. This tells the cell's factory to produce new proteins, which then travel back out to the synapse and build it up, making it stronger and more sensitive. That whole process is what physically builds your habit pathway. And here's where it gets really elegant. The brain has this perfect built-in balance. See, the final mature version of BDNF, That's the builder. It's the one that strengthens connections. But its precursor form, pro-BDNF, is the pruner. It binds to a totally different receptor and actually triggers the weakening of connections. It's a perfect yin and yang, making sure the brain only strengthens the paths that really truly matter. So what's the spark that ignites this whole fire? What triggers this cascade of BDNF in synaptic strengthening? Well, that signal comes from a very famous neurotransmitter, dopamine, and its job is pretty simple. It's the brain's way of shouting, "Hey, pay attention, that thing you just did, that was good. Do that again." Now, a lot of people think dopamine is just the pleasure chemical, but it's really a powerful teaching signal. When you get a surge of dopamine, it's basically telling your brain, underline this. What just happened was important. And get this, it works in a really clever way. It promotes strengthening, that's LTP, in your goal-directed system, helping you learn the action. But at the same time, it helps prune and refine, that's LTD, the connections in your automatic system. This amazing dual action is what helps your brain smoothly transition a clunky deliberate action into a sleek, effortless habit. So we've seen how the connections get stronger, but how does the brain make these changes last for weeks, months, or even a lifetime? For that answer, we have to go to the deepest level of control, right into the nucleus of the cell, to the DNA itself. We're talking about epigenetics. Now, don't let the word epigenetics intimidate you. It's a pretty fascinating and simple idea. It doesn't change your actual genes, it just changes how your body reads them. The analogy here is perfect. It's like using a highlighter or putting a little sticky tab in your genetic codebook to mark which pages are important and should be read often and which ones can be ignored. So, here's the bottom line. Through repetition and that dopamine reinforcement, your brain can make these epigenetic changes, things like histone modification, which is like loosening the spool your DNA is wound on to make it easier to read. These changes can leave the gene for something like BDNF permanently highlighted in those habit circuits. This basically guarantees a steady supply of the molecules you need to keep those connections strong, effectively locking the habit right into your brain's hardware. And make no mistake, this system is unbelievably powerful for better or for worse. This quote from the research is pretty stark. It shows that addictive drugs can actually hijack this exact epigenetic machinery. Cocaine can cause epigenetic changes that force the brain to grow more connections in its reward pathways, physically wiring addiction into the brain and making the habit incredibly hard to break. It's just a powerful reminder of how real and physical these mechanisms are. So there you have it. From a simple choice to a new superhighway in your brain paved and strengthened by molecules like BDNF, reinforced by dopamine, and then locked in for good by changes to how your very own genetic code is read. A habit isn't just an idea, it's a piece of physical architecture inside your head. And understanding the science, well, it gives you the blueprint. It gives you the power to be the architect of your own mind. So the only question left is, which habits will you choose to build and which will you decide to tear down? Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Catch you in the next one.